morning, Sister Nancy Hanna.
Good morning, Jody.
Yes. Since I've come to know you in such a brief time, I have marveled at your curious mind. And that must have been inherited from someone.
I think so.
And that would be?
That would be my birth parents.
Ah.
And later my adoptive parents.
Adopted parents.
Yes. I am a survivor of a failed abortion event.
Wow.
And my birth mother and I were taken to St. Francis Hospital in Charleston, West Virginia. I was born on May 13th, 1929. And I was placed in an incubator right away because my birth mother was 7 months pregnant.
Oh.
And she remained a short time in the hospital, so I heard. I don't know the whole story. Because a public health nurse, who later became my godmother, told the Hannas about this little tiny mite in the incubator, and the mother was not going to keep it for whatever reasons. And I found out much later that the mom and her siblings, the women, could not conceive. Oh. And so the Hannas were very interested in adopting a child. And so they made some arrangements in the hospital at that time. And then I was in the incubator until July, and then came home, and in August I was baptized. And so that started.
I presume you were an only child then?
Absolutely.
Oh, my. And were you
not a spoiled one either.
No? But a well-educated one.
Yes, that's right.
Because?
That's right. Because?
Of your mother.
My mother.
Yes. She was a teacher, correct?
My adoptive mother, yes.
Yes.
She had a lifelong teaching certificate in the state of West Virginia. She had gone to Marshall College, which is now Marshall University. It might have been a teacher's college at that point. I'm not sure about that. But I know that she and her siblings, the women all had professions.
My.
Mom was a teacher, and two other sisters were nurses. And the fourth had died much younger, and I never even knew she was there. So, but that's why Mom was very, very interested that I have a good education. And Dad was too.
That was he, yes.
Yeah.
What was his occupation?
He was manager of what we would now call heavy-duty construction shop in Charleston. Then it was called Mill and Mine Supplies because of the coal mining industry and the railroad industry in West Virginia. And so he finished high school and then right away, and I guess, began a career.
As everyone did, many men did at that time.
Yeah,
yes, yes.
right.
I imagine your house was filled with books.
After a while, Mom and Dad both liked to read. Of course, I couldn't know what they were reading because I was too little. And but Mom homeschooled me in Charleston, first, second, and third grades. I think now it might have been a tuition factor because this was after the Depression.
Yes.
Or it was too far for me to walk those 3 years to the Catholic school. And Mom was a Catholic and Dad was not. And they were married by a Catholic priest, an itinerant priest somewhere in West Virginia in the hills. And I think there must have been an agreement when they had what they called a mixed marriage.
Right.
The children had to be raised as Catholics, something like that. So it was important then, when I got to the fourth grade level, to go to the Catholic school, which I now know is was a private school. So I think tuition could have been a factor. But anyway, fourth grade, I walked to Sacred Heart School in Charleston. Made my first communion in fourth grade, a little taller than some of the others. But and then at the end of fourth grade, Dad picked me up from school one day, and he said, "We're going to move to Virginia." And moving to me was just another, okay, like everything else. Let's go. So we moved to Lynchburg, Virginia. He had the same kind of occupation. And much later in our 30s, my first cousin told me that there had been something discovered in the business where Dad worked
In Charleston.
in Charleston that he didn't approve of. And he felt he could not stay there any longer. And Van didn't know why, and I never learned, but it was something unfair, unjust. So I admired Dad for making that move.
But you got to see a new state.
I did, Virginia. We were right across the street from the church, and I went to Holy Cross Academy down 2 blocks down. And the Daughters of Charity with the great big white bonnets were teachers. Excellent school years. That was 5th and 6th grade. I loved it. Everything about it. Much better than 4th grade. I was in kind of a different level at that time. And then at home, Dad would hear my catechism every night.
The non-Catholic.
The non-Catholic. He did that, catechism and math. And Mom did reading, spelling, English, anything else that came up. And we did have reading. I think there was a library in that school. But for one Christmas, Mom and Dad gave me 4 children's books of my very own. And it was Swiss Family Robinson was one.
Oh my. Probably Tom Sawyer, too.
Tom Sawyer, maybe Huckleberry Finn, and a couple of others, I think. I've forgotten the title.
Probably not Nancy Drew.
That came later. And
I was always under the impression that perhaps you were born in Florida, like in the
We moved
Miami
to
area, because
Florida.
you graduated from Berry, didn't you?
yes, but there was a gap in there because at the end of my 6th grade, in July of 1940, Dad died. And it was sudden. I didn't know that Dad had been ill, but he died of TB. And I think someone mentioned that because of men coming from the mines must have nurtured a germ or something like that. And it so happened that very night, my godmother, the public health nurse, Clara, and her nephew, Tom, stopped by our home in Lynchburg. And I don't know where Tom and I went for the night, I guess to a neighbor's. But that's when Dad died. And Clara baptized him, Dad, because he wanted to be in Nancy's church.
She had heard him say that.
Must have been
Must
right
have
then and there.
Nancy's church.
Nancy's, not Mom's church.
No.
Nancy's
Nancy.
church.
Oh, how beautiful. Did
So-
that bring tears to your eyes when you
No,
heard that?
but when I heard it, I thought, lots of things.
Of course.
Okay, of course. So then the next day, Clara and Tom and I went on Clara's vacation, I think to get me out of the way. So Mom and my Uncle Van came from Charleston to escort Dad's body back to Charleston where he was buried. Well, then Mom came back and she said, well, we're going to go to Florida.
Just like that.
Just like that. But I think she wanted to get away from the scene. I think she wanted to grieve in her own way. And she said, I want to get you in the sunshine. Well, that's a remedy, I think, for TB, although I didn't inherit it, but he was ill with that. So we packed up furniture temporarily to rent a place in Charleston. And then she said, you want to take something of Dad's with you? Oh, I said yes. And he had, as we talked yesterday, about a suitcase. Mm-hmm. And I said, yeah, I'd like to take that and a buckle and put my junk in the suitcase. That'll be mine. Okay. We got to Charleston. Mom put the furniture in the house, in a rented house. And one day she went out shopping, and I thought, I'll go up and get my ball made of rubber bands and play a while. I got upstairs, and in an empty room, this suitcase was out in the middle of the floor. And I thought, that's funny. So I opened it naturally, curiosity.
Sure.
And here was the blue paper on top. And I thought, well, I've never seen that. Opened it, my adoption papers.
Oh, my.
And that's how I found out that I was adopted.
What was your reaction? Cry? Did you cry?
I may have done that, but it was more like I felt like an orphan. One father had died. I didn't know the other. Mom was out shopping. I didn't know my birth mother. And there I was alone. So I really felt like an orphan. I remember I'm alone. But as I mentioned, I had been reading the little quips in Reader's Digest at the end of stories and stuff. And there was a little story about 2 children talking about being born or something. And one of them said, yeah, but my parents chose me. I'm adopted. or something like that. And I thought, hey, okay, I was chosen, and it was okay. So closed the paper, closed the suitcase, and there I was. And I didn't mention that to Mom for years.
Nor she to you.
No.
Yes, yes. So life in Florida?
Then we went to Miami
Amen.
Beach for
Miami Beach.
the summer rates.
Oh,
And Mother started to enroll me at a Catholic school, which was St. Patrick's, but their out-of-state quota was filled. Then we moved up to Fort Lauderdale for more summer rates, and she tried again a Catholic school, St. Anthony's in Fort Lauderdale. Their quota was filled. Okay, so again, she homeschooled me in 7th grade, and meanwhile, she decided to move to Fort Lauderdale. But the realtor had taken us on the way to Miami for a visit, I guess. And we went through Hollywood, and there was a sign out on somebody's yard, Gentiles only. And I said to Mom, what's that mean? She said, I'll tell you later. She told me.
what a joke.
But she said, I will never move to Hollywood. So Fort Lauderdale was it. So we went back. The rest of the year, she tutored me or homeschooled me in 7th grade. What a teacher, wow. So we went back to Charleston to pack up things, and I took the final exam and at Sacred Heart again and passed. So we moved to Fort Lauderdale, and I went to St. Anthony's because I passed, and I was in 8th grade.
Oh, well, who were some of your teachers there at St. Anthony?
Yeah, 8th grade, Paul Marie, I don't know her last name.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Ann was principal. Sister Rosaria, Sister Mary Paula. They were the high school ones. And then Sister Pascal. Very strict.
Was she the superior?
No, she
principal?
wasn't.
Thank God, huh?
Oh, yes. But
Did
those
you
were
ever meet up with Sister Pascal again?
much later in Jacksonville. I lived with her. She taught me a class at Berry. It was a TBA class, and I think it was English for
She was meant to be your angel.
well, you're very kind, yes,
Along the way.
along the way.
Had you ever had any encounters through these years, up through Barry, your senior year with Mother Gerald?
Once, I think, or maybe twice at St. Anthony's, when after someone, I think Sister Georgine, asked if I wanted to be a sister. I don't know. What does that mean? Didn't know a thing. And I got home and said something to Mom. That was the wrong thing to say. Oh my, she was so upset. Did I know anything about a single parent? Or that she wouldn't have? I didn't know a thing. I didn't know why she was upset.
No wedding, no
No, nothing.
grandchildren. Yeah.
None of that. And so then one time, I met Mother, that might have been in college though, I met Mother Gerald again. And I was concerned about legitimacy at that time. It was called that then, and entering the congregation. And she said, no matter what you decide to do, you have the right to know about your own self. And I thought that was really beautiful, very
Powerful.
wise words. So then I met Mother Gerald, and Mom was still, she wasn't very willing. But then finished high school, and Sister Dorothy Brown was supervisor of schools, and she, 7 of us from our graduating class at St. Anthony went to Barry.
Beautiful.
And but before that, one Sunday, Mom and I were listening to the radio, and somebody was playing the piano, and it was Sister Denise Mainville, who had a Sunday afternoon program.
My heavens.
And Mom said, "You're going to go there someday." Okay, here again.
Sister Denise was at Barry at the time?
Yes, she was.
Oh.
She and Rose Treese were at Barry.
And was on the radio. Was that a weekly
I
phenomenon?
think she played every Sunday afternoon. It was kind of a PR thing, but also her talent, was just marvelous. So after graduation, I got my first job at Smith's drugstore, and then went to Barry for 4 years and graduated. Had to change majors in my second year because I could not do the math. And I didn't take good study habits with me to Barry. During the war years, we used our study halls to wind yarn for the sisters making things. And I didn't know how to use study halls, stuff like that. But I got through, and Mother was right. I worked, she worked, I think my aunt donated some of the money. So
Was Sister Dorothy Brown then the
yes, and
president?
she was the dean.
Yeah.
And then I switched from science to education and English. And Noreen McHugh as an English teacher was just absolutely the best. Rita Cecile taught zoology, and oh, marvelous. Beautiful teachers, absolutely.
Very fortunate.
Yes.
Yes.
And Marie Grace was the superior, and she was another lovely one. Yes. And then after that, well,
Well, you became a postulant.
yeah.
Yes.
February of 51.
51.
And
Who was your sponsor?
Sister Georgine.
Georgine. She
And-
was from St. Anthony's, is that correct?
Well, she had been in the beginning, and then she was changed to, oh my goodness, Detroit. Oh.
But she was nearby.
When I got to, in fact, I stayed overnight, St. Teresa's in Detroit. And she and Therese Grew went with me to Adrian the next day.
Did Mother Gerald recognize you?
No, but Sister Benedict, well, she may have, but Sister Benedicta Marie was at the front door when I got there. And I knew her because I had met her. And she said, oh, here's our postulant from Barry. And I, oh, my. Then we had to change into postulant. Mom made some of my postulant's clothing, too, after that, all of that. And Mother Gerald may have, but there were a number of us, so it was hard for her to pick out. But
Did you have dowries at that time? And
we did, and I don't remember what they were, but one day as a postulant, I was going up the back steps near the old post office, and Sister Margaret Helen came down the hall, met me. Mother Gerald said to tell you that she has accepted your 4 years of college as your dowry. Oh,
My
what should I thought?
heavens.
Oh, 2 dowries? Hey.
wow.
And but that another very great kindness that Mother would have
Beautiful.
known. So then,
Beautiful.
then reception.
How did you happen to choose Robert Francis for your name?
Robert for Dad, Bob Hanna, Robert Hanna. I didn't like Edith, Robert Edith. That was Mom's first name. And I somehow decided on Francis. I now think it was the hospital where I was. Francis with an I,
Yes.
and became Robert Francis.
Lovely.
And got the name. We had
lovely
a
name.
kind of a rush in getting our names.
I don't want to miss 2 parts of your beautiful life,
Okay,
and that is the Dominican Republic
right.
and Peru.
I
So
took-
where would you like to begin?
Dominican Republic is better. After my first year was at Mundelein, and then I had my college completed, so I took census the summer after Mundelein. And while we were reading our appointments, I was assigned to Jacksonville. A special delivery letter came for me. I'd been changed to Dominican Republic. Oh, so I was.
Because you had Spanish background?
No. I knew C for yes and no for no, and Coca-Cola was on a big billboard. So anyway, I got the message after my home visit to go to Barry, and everybody else had gone to Dominican Republic, but Sean Treese and I were going to go together on August 26th, and we did. That was 1953. And Dorothy Brown had said to me once, oh, you'll be teaching in English. And I thought, oh, that's nice. You know, oh boy, big surprise. And Helen Clara met us at the airport. And then the next day, I think, took us up to San Juan. And
Is
then,
that where you were stationed?
yes, San Juan de la Maguana. And then I developed malaria. So the first 2 weeks of school, I was out, literally out of it. And I thought, now what do I do? Well, anyway, I got well, thanks to June Secor, the superior, and all my other friends there. Taught 4th grade. And then after that, team taught with Mary Jo O'Hanlon,
Yes.
a method that she adapted from the Detroit method of reading. I now think that probably was something we were bringing into a culture of another country, something that was successful in our country, but I'm not sure about that. Okay. Then I was 7 years in San Juan, and then I was changed to the Colegio. And
Were you there during the Trujillo
absolutely,
upset?
yes. And was at the Colegio when they kidnapped the bishop. And then I stayed 2 more years, and at the end of that time, it was the time for the home visit, and Mary Fran Coleman said, well, why don't you make retreat at Barry, take summer school classes, because I was in 2 different departments, and I said, what about my trunk? Oh, leave it here, you'll come back. You'll be coming back, or something like that. That's funny. No one ever knows that they're going to come back to somewhere. However,
Exactly.
went to Barry, marvelous retreat with Father Rover. And he preached on St. Catherine of Siena, and I knew nothing about St. Catherine. And there was a line, and I have to go back and look it up somewhere, the C, S-E-A, Pacific. And I thought, I don't know why he's saying that, but he quoted Catherine. Okay, got to appointments, and I was changed to St. Matthew's in Jacksonville. And John Norton was superior. And we went over to look at her list, and Sister Paschal was not only a team teacher, but she was a member of our community. You know? Anyway, went to Jacksonville, and on December 28th, got a call from Mother Ann Catherine. You're going to Peru. And what? Yes, you're going to Peru. For what? You're going to take over, but that's not the word. It would be direct. An elementary school.
As in principal.
As
As in
principal.
superior.
And superior. Well, anyway, I said, you know, and she said, this has to be kept a secret. Not confidential, but a secret. And I didn't know why until later. The congregation had to apply for visas from Peru because the relations between Peru and the United States had been broken, and now they're being restored. And they didn't want the idea of us going before they got the visas and all that kind of thing. She said, you can't tell anybody. And I said, I have to call Mom, because when the nuns get back from Rosarian at the Christmas party, they're going to, if they know about it, they're going to, well, you really have to keep it a secret. And I said, with due respect, Mother, I'm going to call Mom. I have to do that out of fairness. And then she gave me the go-ahead. I did anyway. So I called Mom and I said, hey, I've been changed again. I'm going to be a superior. Well, she was thrilled to think that I was going to be a superior. And I said, I'm going to be a principal. That was just as good. A principal. Uh-huh.
Oh, what a dear.
Oh, yes, really. So then something about Mother Ann Catherine said, do you want to set a date for going? And I said, well, what about January the 21st? That's the patronal feast of the Dominican Republic. And I thought I'd carry it. Then she told me Ana, Sister Maria Josefina, and Teresita Pellerano would be my 2 companions. Oh, lovely. I felt much assured that they were going. Okay, went down to Rosa. The letter came from Mother Genevieve. Okay, assignment. Letter came from Mary Philip. They had done, she and Richardine had done some background work. Okay, we packed up things in our trunks. Only there was a shipping strike, and we couldn't send our trunks.
Oh, my.
But Mother Ann Catherine had a friend.
And she found a way.
She found a way. We eliminated a lot of our baggage and put everything in a foot locker. And this gentleman sent it by air freight. So it was there when we got there. Okay. And we got there, no place to live, no home, but the Maryknoll sisters were on one side of the plane, and the tarmac.
When you arrived.
When we arrived, and then there was the IHMs from Pennsylvania, and they welcomed me. IHM said, oh, sisters, we'd love you to come and stay with us. Thank you. And Aunt Claudia said from Maryknoll, sisters, we'd love to have you stay with us. Oh, thank you. And then she piped up with, I went to school in Precious Blood. Is that in Detroit?
In Detroit.
In Detroit. Well, the IHM said, you should go with them. And I took care of that problem.
Well, we have a connection with the Maryknolls, too.
Yes.
There's a charismatic connection along the way. Yes,
Oh.
yes. So you picked the right ones.
Yes.
Did you stay with them the whole time
6
you were?
weeks.
Oh, 6 weeks.
Until somebody found us a house. Well, it turned out that the pastor finally found a place. We wanted, well, after we saw the disaster of what was called the rectory and then the school, all the windows were broken. 2 classrooms didn't have desks, And the expectation was that year the government declared that private schools could go co-ed instead of same-sex schools. Well, there we were with the boys' school. And somebody said, well, the sisters will teach the girls and the men will teach the boys. And I said, no, we're going to have co-ed starting out with 2 grades. I didn't even have time to talk to Anna and Teresita. I made the decision. Girls, co-ed, 2 grades, the next year 2 more grades, the next year, until they finished the 6 years of primary or elementary school.
So this was what you would call an area of poverty.
Very much so. But tuition was being charged. I didn't grasp all of that.
And
So
you
anyway,
were speaking Spanish very well at this time,
I
correct?
was my second language, but the native speakers, Anna and Teresita.
Yeah.
I think it was the first time that the congregation had sent, not only our congregation, but others had sent members who could speak Spanish to some degree. And so then we started with a 30-year mortgage. The archdiocese had never told our sisters that we had a mortgage, and lots of financial
I bet
problems.
you refused to pay that.
I agreed to pay the mortgage, but not the other debts that came along. There were more. But we discussed, the 3 of us, should we stay with this mission? Should we open it? Should we continue? And we talked with the Marino priest, who said, well, you make the decision and then you call your mother general. And I said, it doesn't work that way. He said, but you have to, because you can't get on a plane and go see her and talk about this. So we decided we would keep the school. And we did.
How long were you there?
I was there 6.5 years. And then after that, during that time that we were there, Mary Kay Duelius, Kenneth, came periodically to teach Peruvian doctors medical English.
To your area where you were
Yes,
stationed?
well, she taught downtown Lima, but stayed with us. So it was good that we had the 4th bedroom in our little house that was across the street. Then after I left, I really don't know, Madeline Durbin came to succeed me. And then I got into open placement, which was difficult. But then I think Kenneth and Mariana went to another area.
Now, we haven't mentioned Melbourne because your mother was very key
Yes.
to the school in Melbourne, correct?
When my first year in Dominican Republic, Mother Gerald wanted to open a school in Melbourne. I think there was her nephew, Joe Berry, one of them, was there, and she wanted to open the school but didn't have sisters. So she contacted Dorothy Brown. Dorothy Brown called my mom. Would she go up and, as it were, open the school, be one of the first teachers? She picked up her parakeet and suitcase and went to Melbourne.
From Fort Lauderdale.
From Fort Lauderdale. And that's where I decided to go when I left Peru, because I didn't know how to teach in English. I didn't know anything about the States.
Well, plus,
She
you
was
were
great.
coming back to another culture.
Without
I mean,
any re-entry plan
yes,
at all.
Yes. Well, you've re-entered the Adrian Dominican campus with great ease. So you have
I
that
worked here
gift.
5 years.
Oh, you did.
And
Did they have a special place for you when you arrived? Having
no,
done
I was
5
on
years?
Tu Maria.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, but I had never seen the new part, as we call it now.
Yes.
Wonderful place to be.
Yes, you've been here 5 years.
I
correct?
came in 2011, yes.
Yes.
Mary Pruniski was so helpful in getting me here.
And I was so impressed to know that the iPad has helped your curious mind through all these years. Isn't it wonderful?
And our morning nurse says, don't overthink. Stop overthinking. But I can't. It is curiosity.
Well, before we leave this wonderful interview, Nancy, are there any words you would like to give to the people in Peru or the sisters in the Dominican Republic?
Well, I would give thanks to the native Peruvian sisters, Dominican sisters, the Ruizes, others whose names, Rosa Reyes, others that I don't know. My thanks for my first enculturation in a beautiful, beautiful culture. And then, from then going and being able to live through the Trujillo, whatever.
Yes.
And I don't know anyone in Peru right now, and our sisters had changed missions over.
And you empowered the native Peruvians to
At one point,
be
well,
in
Ana
that
and
position of
yes,
principal.
Ana and Teresita worked with the youth. I couldn't do that. I had too much to do to restore something of the school. But we each made a cursillo. That was a movement. So in order to recommend any of our lay people, we had to each make a cursillo. So we each one made one, and then we recommended other people. So we had lay leadership going, and did that.
When you mention the name Ana, some of our viewers might be thinking of Ana Feliz.
That's right.
That's who you're talking about.
Maria Josefina. Yes.
Well, how wonderful, because she's here
Yes, she
with you
is.
today,
Yes.
as well as Mary Kay DeWillius.
And on this past Saturday, 54 years we were in Peru.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yes.
Well, may you continue with your bright smile.
Thank
and
you.
for the joy you bring to so many here on
Thank you.
campus. God bless you.
And I appreciate your effort
Yes.
to keep us going.
And I leave here with a deep love for your mother.
Great lady.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. God bless you.
Thank you.